It's okay. It should be live now, Dennis. I've just done that. All right. In the interest of time, I think we can start the meeting. I'm going to just hold on. I think I'm going to switch on the video towards the end for the rest of the guys when we get into a Q&A session, so that we don't start affecting bandwidth. Good, Stephanie? Good to go? All right, let me just see you. All right, good. So, good evening, everybody. My name is Hasmukh Chudasama. I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya. And thank you so much for taking out the time during the holiday season to participate and to attend this event. I was just talking to Stephanie about it a while ago. It's quite difficult to take out the time and have that, I think, the mental state to participate into science and some serious event, isn't it? Good, Stephanie. Welcome on board.
Thanks.
And yes, I'm just trying to see if I can see your video. Hold on. I can't see your video. Maybe you need to start. Stop. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, but we got so many people joining. I think let's just give everybody some time. Good, Stephanie, welcome on board. And as I mentioned to you, thank you for agreeing to participate in this event. I think that's we just got about 48 hours left in 2020 before we go into the new year. I think everybody is just sort of switched off. So really appreciate taking out the time to do that. And I'm the point person for the Agile 2020 festival, Agile 20 festival in Kenya. So called we're calling it the ambassador. The idea is to spread the message locally in our country, across our groups, across our Agile groups, across our non-Agile groups that want to become Agile, as well as people who are sitting on the borderline. They don't know what is Agile, and that's what our task is, to drive that message. And you being quite an authority in the project management space in Kenya, having served, I think, PMI and served on various bodies in Kenya, I think you're quite known. So I think you became the ideal person for me to reach out to be on this event.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Having said that, I think you can start off by giving us your background, your experience, and also you can tell us what are you doing in Kenya, because you're obviously not originally from Kenya. So I think that's a good place to start.
Okay. So my full name is Stephanie Jaeger, and I've lived in Kenya for 27 years. So Kenya is home, as much as my passport still says I'm German. I grew up in Germany and lived shortly in the US and half a year in Tanzania. And otherwise, I've spent more than half my life in Kenya. I started my career as a nurse, and you'd be surprised how similar nursing and project management actually is. And because I remember when I sat in my first day of project management training, and the trainer started talking about what your project is, that there are risks, there are goals, there are things that hamper how you progress, and so on. And I'm thinking, that looks like nursing care planning. That's what we do in nursing care planning. And that's when I was able to actually embrace project management. Okay, I came to Kenya actually as a nurse, and I worked with Africa Inland Church in the Bundus. in Mazabit district near Lake Turkana in a tiny health center there. And later I worked in different organizations here in Nairobi and other places. Worked with AR for a number of years, worked with Avenue Healthcare and a couple of other companies. I progressed in the medical field and suddenly it all came to a stop. I couldn't find a job there anymore. I ended up in a software company that was doing software for the healthcare sector. Then that company had to close down. And one of the shareholders was the owner of a computer company, one that Hasmukh knows very well because he was previous. And the owner asked me whether I want to join that company. And I told him, sure, but what would I be doing there? I know nothing about IT. And he said, no, we'll find something for you to do. So first I became the lady who sorted out all the client problems and made sure that the clients ended up being happy. And somehow they saw something in me that I didn't see. And they basically forced me into project management. And the rest, as we say, is history. I was able to embrace project management and continued in it for now full-time project management, probably for the last 8 years. And once I got started, I also realized how many projects I had already done in my life, just not knowing what structured project management is. To my background, I'm a registered nurse. I don't have a practice license in Kenya anymore, but I was fully registered in Kenya. I have a BBA in healthcare management. Then I'm PMP certified. And I'm also a Project Management Institute, Leadership Institute Masterclass alumni. And yeah, I think that is most what you can say about me and my history in a few words. Currently, I'm working as program manager and process specialist with Synergetic Energy Partners, which is a Kenyan company. And I'm tasked with now starting with the strategy implementation. I'm also a mentor, a trainer, a speaker, and I write articles about project management and leadership.
All right.
Yeah, that's all about my background.
Good stuff. Good. Uh, Thanks. So yeah, look. To when I started in project management, I think well, I've been in IT for what 20 plus years, and we used to do. I used to run a solution business unit, and I used to see what the project managers are doing, and I said, you know what, I need to make more sense with what's going on. I'll give you an idea. 2007 or 2006, I looked for a PMP training organization, and I found only one in Kenya. It was called Center for Finance and Project Management, if you remember. And the lecturer, the guy who taught me, was the owner of that company. He had nobody else. The reason I'm saying this, if you look at 2006, 2007, and 2020, today there are multiple organizations talking about PMP, and I think it's a reflection of the maturity of project management. However, when we start talking about agile, my experience is a little bit different. But I would like you to do the talking because the project management space is your space. What is your view in the agile project management space in Kenya? What's your experience there, and what is your view of where we are really?
That's like 5 questions in one.
Yes.
Okay. I think Agile is really just at its beginning of development in Kenya. In the international IT and software companies, it is a bit further. And the other companies are just starting to slowly think about it. Some companies say they are doing Agile, but they haven't really fully embraced it. I was actually talking with another common friend of ours yesterday called Richard Magu, who is, to
Mm,
me, yeah, he was the first Agile practitioner that I knew. And he was also telling me that if you look at the 7-step Agile journey, Kenya is probably on step 2.
mhm,
But if you remove the IT industry, the rest is mostly still on step 1. But that's not necessarily bad. It just means that we're growing. And I mean, if I
mm,
look at the project management industry, um, I was very much involved in the construction related IT industry, which is now your data cabling, your data infrastructures, data security systems, and such things. And even now, I work for a company that manages major infrastructure projects. And if I think of how things were 7, 8 years ago in the construction industry in Nairobi, project management was still being looked at with a lot of suspicions by the architects and some of the engineers, and the rest were somehow trying to understand what it is. And a lot of people thought they're doing project management and
mm.
they're project managers, but later on realized that they were not fully project managers yet, more like project coordinators or things like that. And the way the construction industry has embraced project management, that's now more the traditional project management in the last 7 years, is just amazing, because now you don't have
Yeah,
any professionally run construction projects anymore without project managers, and often the
yeah,
subcontractors are project managers. And I think with Agile, it is a similar development. We're just a few steps behind. Um,
yes,
I personally believe that the future for most industries is in hybrid project management, where you then combine traditional project management with agile elements as it's required by your project. You just adapt it completely to the needs of the project. And I think that's where we all really need to learn about agile.
absolutely.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I think it does. Look, I think there is, I agree with you, there is awareness. However, there is a lot of, I think, certifications going around as well,
Mm-hmm.
where people are saying, I think it's called the ACP, PMI, ACP certification. But when you start looking at, does it translate to workplace or work transformation in terms of, are we doing, is it an agile project plan, for example?
Mm.
It may show that it is, but when it comes to execution, it goes into a waterfall mode, because knowledge is one thing, but if people have not done it before, then they don't know how to do it, and it goes back to the same old ways. I've seen that personally myself.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the client can also say that I want to use the agile methodology, I want to deliver value quickly to internally. When we start the project, the client is not ready, their culture is not ready, and it falls back into a waterfall format. And this is where we start wondering what needs to really happen
I think
to
it's
change
yeah, I think it's a whole host of things. I totally agree with you. Um, One of the things that's really holding us back is that most of our companies here are still stuck in a very hierarchical um, setup. Like, I've worked for at least 4 or 5 companies where most decisions are being made by the boss only. And of course, if you want to do truly agile, then the boss has to learn to let go. And that's not easy. If you've been running the company in a hierarchical way for the last 30, 40 years, to unlearn that and now to embrace that you trust your employees enough to make decisions
Mm,
and you only
mm,
now operate from the background is something that will take time. And I see some people really trying to embrace it, but when it becomes difficult and there is some issues to be sorted out in the heat of the
yeah,
moment, they will fall back into their old um, way they have
yeah,
been working for so many years. And the other thing is also that even if you have the project manager and the project team wanting to do agile, if the other departments that are involved, be it accounts, be it procurement, be it any of the others, even sales and marketing, if you're doing client-facing projects, have not embraced Agile, then they can really pull the project back and force you to go back to traditional
Yeah.
approaches.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a maturity issue. Uh, uh,
Mm,
the question is, how do we accelerate rather this journey, and what steps do we need to take? The Agile 20 Festival is one of those steps. The way I look at it is, it's a vehicle to drive that kind of change. What do you think we need to do? The three top three steps, top three actions that we need to take, so that if something is going to take 5 years to mature, we can make it 2 years. What needs to happen really?
I think we need to start with ourselves, and we need to keep educating ourselves, learning more about the different approaches that are there. Like this year, I've been learning about something called disciplined agile, which now takes all the different agile approaches that are there and puts them in a toolbox, and you use them as you need them. And so I think we will also find other new methods coming out, new approaches coming out, and they will all have their place. So we need to keep educating ourselves and should never believe that we know everything that is there about project management and also agile. However, then the next step would be to educate our seniors and to also educate our team members, because only if they now really understand what agile means,
Mm,
then they can start embracing it. And
yeah.
the other thing is that we really need to reach out to the younger generation of project managers. At this point,
Mm,
we're still at a situation where a lot of the training institutions that are now like colleges and universities that are giving degrees and certifications in project management and so on, they're not yet aligned to international standards. They're teaching their own version of project management. And from there, these young people that come out from there,
yeah.
of course, believe they know everything about project management, and then they're suddenly confronted with standards that they had never even heard about. So I think
Yeah.
that's where we also can play a very big role in mentoring young people, in creating fora where they can discuss things,
Mm,
creating the relevant social media channels and festivals like this one,
yeah.
which
Yeah.
speak to them at their level and the way they communicate to just help them um, get off to a right start and not to have to learn things the hard way, the way some of us did.
Mm. So there are couple of things I've picked up from there. One is the colleges and universities and really drive that agenda really hard. So that is,
Mm,
I think that's probably quite an impactful area to work in, because nothing changes a company more than fresh minds coming into an organization with very fresh ideas. I think that's a big thing. The second thing is, you spoke about having awareness for the executives.
mhm,
I think that's a big challenge. I've worked in multinationals where the HR says this is a mandatory training for 5 days, and everybody must attend. Everybody does attend apart from the executive, uh, because it's like the training is for everybody else apart from me. I'm too busy. I got too much going on, and even if they do attend, the minds are not really there.
that's very
They're,
true.
yeah. So I think that's a massive challenge, and I'm just wondering, how do we go about that? And the third one is, you may have very successful project managers out there, okay, who've done the waterfall methodology for years and they've built a reputation, but times have changed. The demands that our clients are putting on us now are obviously the more, the agile methodologies and the different forms that it has. Is it possible for a PM who has been successful in the past to go into a course in agile and then really do agile? Are we asking for too much? Are we asking? To me, it's a mindset shift. Is it really going to happen? Or a better approach is wherever the demands are for the old fashioned PM ways, there's a good fit for those PMs to do those. And we have an entirely new batch of project managers who are agile thinking, and they've not even been exposed to the waterfall and the old methodologies. That is an approach that I took personally in my organization. When we said this is not going to work, I'm going to go out and look for a PM who just doesn't know anything about waterfall. That's it. Mm-hmm. So, what are your thoughts around that?
I think it really depends on the personality of the project manager and also on motivational focus. Because for some people, it's easier to unlearn the old ways and learn new ways and see the benefits. And of course, it also depends on the willingness to change and the willingness to embrace the change that they see brings them benefits. And I think our most important thing to do there is to share knowledge. It's not just sending people to training, but also every meeting that you have, use the chance to not indoctrinate them, but just share knowledge in form of success stories and how you used the approach somewhere and how it worked. And also to start doing little things. Yeah, you cannot take a company that is doing waterfall and say, okay, from the 1st of January, we're going to do Agile. It's not going to work. You will need to have a slow transition and maybe also do it in certain areas first. For example, now in the company where I work, we're doing very traditional project management because of the nature of the work. But now that I'm starting to do the internal projects that hadn't been handled as projects before, they had been handled as task forces. I'm introducing some agile elements there. At the same time, I'm having constant discussions with the senior people about what it means to transfer a whole business into an agile business. And what I mentioned earlier, this old tradition of a top-down approach is the hardest thing to unlearn for people. And I had a very interesting discussion with my current boss about a year ago, where I asked him whether he thinks that he'll be able to let go now that he was introducing departmental managers and let them make the decisions in their departments. And so he was telling me about one project they had done, or one task force at that time, and where he had actually managed to keep himself out of it and let the team do it. And he told me about how he was feeling during that time and how hard it was for him. And that's something that we keep on bringing up when things get a bit tough, where we keep on saying, let us make the decision and we will keep you updated and we will escalate to you if we can't go any further. And it's a learning process for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically, you just have to keep preaching the gospel, so to say.
Absolutely. I think you hit it spot on. Preaching the gospel. It's about evangelism. And absolutely, I think that's what it is.
And the other thing also, servant leadership definitely plays a role there, because you have to have this mentor mentorship approach, where you don't tell people how to do things differently, but you actually mentor them and show them the benefits and just keep on guiding them, not telling them do this, but could we approach it this way? Could we try it out this way? And slowly change is possible. I've seen amazing change in now in traditional project management in a company suddenly realizing they're all involved in projects and their contribution will make a project fail or be successful.
Yeah.
And that was simply done by going into every department and teaching them about project management
Yeah.
and what it means for their department. And one thing that really worked there was showing them swim lane process charts, because suddenly they realized, wait a minute, we are involved in this project and our contribution can make a project be successful or fall. And it was amazing to see the difference.
Okay.
So I think even with the Agile gospel, we can do the same.
Yeah. Yeah. What is PMI doing locally to drive that agile agenda, if anything, Bedri?
Okay, the PMI chapters are currently worldwide very, very active. Each chapter has a Agile champion. Actually, I can see him sitting here in this meeting.
All right.
And PMI has actually two things. Yeah, they have the PMI ACP certification, which is Agile Certified Practitioner, which I've seen in the last few months quite a number of people qualifying in it. And that is another Agile methodology. However, there is also a new partnership between PMI and Disciplined Agile. And as I mentioned earlier, Disciplined Agile is a very interesting approach because they basically take all the different Agile methodologies and you have
Yeah.
them all there in your toolbox. And then you make decisions on what is fit for your project, what meets the requirements of your project, and you mix and match your tools to come up with the best approach. And Richard, who is here among the people, has been
Yeah.
doing a lot of teaching about it. PMI Global has provided quite a bit of information and trainings about it.
Yeah.
And there are slideshows available. There is all kinds of information, articles, and such available. And the local chapter has been working quite strongly on it, on trickling it down. So we've had a number of webinars. We've had events where people could just ask questions and
Yeah.
yeah.
Good. So we from on a scale of one to 10, where one is almost zero and 10 is the highest, where are we on the agile journey in Kenya, according to you?
Mm, okay, I would say the software industry is probably on a 5 or 6, but that's my personal opinion, while the other industries are very much at the bottom. Of course, there
Yeah.
will be companies that are further on the journey than others, but even if you have a very mature and switched on project team that is fully embracing Agile, if the other departments are not playing ball and they're not embracing it, that pulls them back down
Yeah.
and makes them then fall back into
Absolutely.
traditional project management.
Absolutely. I think that is the biggest challenge in an agile transformation. I think where the executives may seem to be active, but are not really. And I think that's a massive challenge. And I think it's an open to discussion on how we can solve that. I think there's no clear answer to that, because to me that can only happen if the pressures on the business are so huge that they're forced to change.
Mm.
Either that or there's a visionary leader, I think.
But I think also that the experience with COVID-19 has taught a few companies quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I remember having a discussion with my current boss again about whether he thinks it's possible for people to start working from home before COVID hit. And
Yes.
at that time, we both had our concerns, and I could see that he also felt that he still needed that traditional thing of seeing people there and being able to approach them directly.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we suddenly immediately went to a status where whoever could was working from home. Of course, it
Yeah.
took a while of adjustments, and people had to learn how to do virtual meetings and how to communicate with each other. And some of us suddenly have very much higher phone bills.
Mm.
But the company not only survived, but thrived. And we realized that people were actually more ready for embracing now a new way of working than
Yeah.
we had thought. And what happened at the same time, on the other hand, is also that the management suddenly had to do a big jump towards becoming more of an agile business.
Mm.
And I think it has brought us forward a lot faster than we would have gone forward otherwise if we hadn't had the pandemic to deal with. So I think if that has happened in our company, that probably has happened in quite
Yeah,
a few.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think it has accelerated that journey. I think there's no doubt about that. Uh, so you spoke about mentorship. I think mentorship is also, I think, a key area where not only being a mentor, but also us having a mentor. Are you a mentor to anybody? And do you have a mentor yourself?
That's yes to everything. I do
All right.
have several mentors, and I have mentors I've worked with for a longer time in my life, and others that were just mentors for me for a short time because there was something particular there. They had a skill or knowledge that I needed, and where I needed guidance. And at any given point in time, I do have mentors, and I also mentor quite a number of young people. Some of them generally on getting started in their careers,
Mm.
learning about leadership, understanding how they, in their position at the bottom of the rank, can still be leaders, and
Yeah.
others, of course, about project management. Some of them are people that are on the same level with me or even higher, or
Mm.
and some of them we've even mentored each other. The other person mentored me on things that I didn't
Yeah.
know about,
Yeah.
and I mentored them on project management. So I
Yeah.
think mentorship is something that all of us need, and that is very, very important.
Yeah. I'm going to open this up to anybody who wants to make a comment or ask a question. I think they can raise a hand and I can unmute you. Uh, Especially people from the other parts of Africa where the agile journey may be a little bit different for the in the PM space, and maybe we can learn something from them.
I
I know
can
it's a
see.
little
Uh,
late.
I like to contribute.
Yeah.
I'm coming from the international development space,
All right.
and I think they are ahead than the other industry. I really think, particularly more familiar with USID for many years, that I mean teamwork was was done in 90s and engineering and all that. But
Yes.
lately, what is important lately is what they are calling MEL, monitoring, evaluation, learning, and adaptation. And that really, although they don't call it agile, to me it embraces the agile approach and
Sorry,
methodology.
Maria, do you mind switching on your video?
Oh,
Yes. If you don't mind, if it's a problem, then we can leave it. Since this
uh,
is
you
being
can't hear
broadcast,
me?
I can hear you. We can hear you. No, no worries. Since this is being broadcast on YouTube,
Okay. So you want,
uh,
I didn't want to be seen, but anyway,
there you
um,
go.
it seems to me, as I say, I'll repeat, it seems to me that the international development space is ahead as I listen to Stephen. And this is because development, you have to have participation of stakeholders and, everybody has to contribute. So for me, having worked with USID for many years, This is
Yes.
this is nothing new. And lately, what I really like, what they come up with, is what they call MEL, monitoring, evaluation, learning, and adaptation, which
Right.
is to me is agile. So and also the fact that I'm more on the higher education, where you have innovation, you have to test, you have to involve everybody. So to me, it's natural. But as Stephanie said, there's not been a framework called agile to operate. But I think industry is behind. Lately, I'm seeing the government talk to the ministries, and they seem to be embracing, or they don't call agile, but they seem to be embracing teamwork and the spirit and the stakeholder meeting and all this. So I think the concept is being impressed, but there's no structured, there's no framework on what they are calling. This is agile. So I do think that this is natural, it's nature, it's traditional. Some of these things for tradition is very, very, very impressive.
Yes.
I believe that the future.
Sorry, something else is saying? Good. Thank you very much, Maria, for your input. I think that's very, very valid comment. I think in terms of it is the organization that determines.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. We are seeing a lot from the government as well in
Yes.
terms of interest. They may not call it agile.
Okay. Yes.
They may call it something, and that's also a lesson I've learned, that sometimes when you call it agile, business people or the executive people start associating agile with an IT area. This is not.
Yes.
This, no, let's leave it to IT. I think we need to just be creative about that.
You are right. We have to change our language to communicate with the partners. The one USAID uses is co-creation, co-collaboration, so people understand. But even this project economy, it's academic. It's not. we need symbol language that people are implementing. People are. Like government, and with the devolution, there's so much opportunity at the county government level to do this. But I think we are talking to ourselves. We have not changed our language, the technical language.
I agree with you. I think the approach we need to take is not to talk to the people we've been talking to historically, and go into organizations where we've not spoken about it at all. I think that's the approach. Absolutely.
For example, if you go to universities and they say what you are doing is wrong, forget it. They are not going to accept. I mean, these guys will say we are professors, we have a PhD in project management. So I think we need to begin to change our approach. Anyway, let me stop there.
Yes.
Maria, I can see you're very.
Miles is has raised a hand. Let me just. Sorry, Miles. You raised your hand for a while now.
No problem. Good evening, everybody. Hi, Stephanie. Thanks very much for your great insight so far. I think that some of the things you guys have said, I'm actually coming in from South Africa. Most probably a little bit more advanced in many of the agile practices and implementations than, say, many other places in Africa. Having said that, we're seeing a lot of movement in the African space. But I think some of the things that you guys said are just so critically important. First of all, in terms of frameworks, and Stephanie, you mentioned disciplined agile, just something to everybody. There are over 80 frameworks out there at the moment. Scaled Agile, Scrum at Scale, Kanban, DAD, LESS. and you can just continue. There's a big difference between doing Agile and being Agile. Doing Agile is taking a framework and copying it and going step by step through that process. Whereas being Agile, which is what you were saying earlier on, Stephanie, that was, so spot on. It's about a mindset. It's about how quickly do we adapt to the changes that are happening in our world right now. 2020 has hit us all upside the head very hard. And it's those businesses that are able to anticipate and adapt the changes in their markets, not only businesses, but government institutions as well. So it's very much about a mindset rather than following a step-by-step process. But it really excites me when I see people from Kenya. Earlier on, I was talking to the Zambian community, that we start seeing this. We've got a Nigerian community, a Ghanaian community. It's just really exciting to see the African community starting to step up and really get into this space now.
Good. Thanks, Miles. Good. Petra.
Yes. So
Good. Go on. It's fine.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Thank you.
So I'm from Kenya, and my thoughts are, I think we need to also look at the approach that we're taking. I mean, we are a peculiar society, to be very honest. And I think a lot of Agile, the reason why we might also be having a bit of a hard time with uptake is because, there's a lot of literature on Agile and everybody reads it and interprets it the way they will interpret it, right? So I think even in our approach for training, even when we're getting new people, we need to consider a more practical approach. I'll tell you why. When I started Agile, I had read about it. I didn't really know the practicality of it all. But then what happened was that there's a class I attended that's being run by, I think it's called Kweku. He's from Ghana. He does a practical class that's maybe like about a week, right? And so you get to see, it enacted. So even if I was a leader, it means I would actually be able to see what you're talking about. Because when you say Agile, I could, sometimes the issue with buy-in is I don't know what exactly we're talking about. So I get it's, it's an easier way, it's a bit more flexible, but what exactly is it? So I don't know. I think we have more opportunity, especially here in Africa, for buy-in if we are going to take a more practical approach to, when we're trying to get buy-in from our leaders, taking more of a practical approach, I think. I also wanted to comment on, Stephanie had mentioned something about PMs, like the traditional PMs, now are they able to transition? And I think in the company that I work for, we happen to have both Agile and we also happen to have a traditional project management office. And I think, as she says, it's, it's individual, but also it's about just getting them to see the advantage of it. Because at the end of it all, what everybody really wants is just to be able to get value from what they're doing. So I think there's a possibility, but the approach is also very important because, then it becomes, are we losing our jobs to all the Agile people who are coming in and kicking out project management altogether? But that is not necessarily the case because the truth is there is a place for, even in, in whatever projects you're doing, there's a place for some projects might need to take the traditional approach, and then there's projects that need to have a level of Agile or completely Agile. So I think depending on the approach, they actually can be able to move over because we have some who have actually become quite successful Scrum Masters and the like. So those are my thoughts.
Good. Thank you very much, Petra, for your input. Anybody else can raise your hand. Any ideas? You want to share any of your experiences? Any ideas for what we are trying to do with the Agile Festival in terms of, creating a lot of awareness within the country at various levels? I think it's a massive opportunity that we have, and I think we need to absolutely take advantage of that. Anybody else wants to say something? Hold on, Chimunya. Let me just. There you go. Chimunya, you want to say something?
Yes, I do, Hasmukh.
And
I think,
please on your video, if you don't mind.
sure.
Please,
I hope the light is good enough. Well, it says I can't start my video because the host has disabled it.
oh, hold on. Ask to start video. There you go. Okay. Perfect.
So my contribution will be on awareness. I think I'm coming from the Zambian side, and when I hear the stories coming from Kenya, we have similar challenges, and these challenges are that we need to make a stride in making people aware on what Agile is all about, and how to make Agile more valuable in the different organizations. So challenges are the same when it comes to making management aware, or just making the general masses of what Agile is all about. So from the Agile Reflect Festival, we have taken up this mantle to make sure that everybody is aware on about what Agile is all about. And I think the message is the same in Zambia, the message is the same in Kenya. And let's run with the mantle and make sure people are aware of what Agile is all about. And that will enable people to embrace it and adapt to more Agile methodologies. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much.
Hi, Hasmukh. This is Grace.
Hi, Grace. I'll have to ask you to show you. Hold on. There is probably an action on my. Oh,
Okay.
good.
My name is Grace Johnson. Good evening, everybody. And I'm from Nigeria. I'm from the Agile Training Reflect Festival. Like the proverb, an African proverb says, from where I come from, a bushfire is started by a spark. So if we're going to get Agile going, what Hasmukh has started to do is a spark. Probably there's some Agile stuff that has been going on in Kenya, but we need more things like what Hasmukh is doing here to get the conversation going, bring people on board that are really doing Agile in Kenya and project them. Begin to talk about Agile on your LinkedIn, begin to talk about the usefulness, your experiences. Individually, we can begin to create that spark that can really make people to begin to think otherwise and begin to consider, transiting to Agile, not necessarily dumping the project management. I'm also a project manager. I started off as a project manager, only transitioned to Agile this year. And it's been like I'm going on a jet speed anyways. I have to catch up because the world has really, it's past 20 years now. Next year we'll be celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Agile Manifesto. And so we really need to really go fast and let's start the spark. We started it, let somebody pick it up as well. Let's do more events, let's create the awareness, let's get the conversation going. And I believe more people who want to know, the government will want to hear, they want to see. If they begin to hear of case studies, they'll really become interested. So I think Hasmukh has started a spark. Let's get it going. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Anybody else wants to have any comment, any questions? I know it's a little bit late and it's holiday season. Probably that plays a factor. Hi, Mercy. How are you?
How are you doing?
Very
I
well, thank
just
you.
want to say brilliant work. I mean, the two of you today with Chimuya's session and your session, this is what we need in Africa. We need a singular voice eventually to get the race running. I know we are playing catch up, but it's not about how far, it's about how well, learning the right way. Thank you for organizing this. I'm sure there are people that are new, which is key, fresh voices. I know you have a long experience. A lot of us are fresh voices in Agile, but I know that this is the right way to go. And eventually, more people will be aware of this mindset and actually just adopt it, not just in saying it, but in actually doing it. I'm in this meeting, I'm in another meeting, New York team, and we're talking about the mindset. I mean, today, Miles really, really hit it, gave us a home run with a lot of case studies, example. I took quite a lot of notes. The 3 ways of working in Agile. I mean, we have such brilliant minds in Africa. We just need to spotlight them, especially those within teams that are actually doing amazing work. So it's a first. I can't wait to see more of your event. And hopefully this conversation tonight, I've seen what Agile is capable of doing in Africa. I see the enormous opportunity. And I see the enormous gap as well for Africa, that if we can come together collectively, have the picture of Africa in mind, and continue to have the conversation, we will change the trajectory of Africa. We will not play the catch up and just have the right mindset. I think Miles said it properly. It's more of the mindset. It's not so much about the framework. It's the mindset. We need the heart set. And I hope as we keep having this conversation, we'll achieve that. Thank you so much, Hasmukh. Thank you, Nchimuya, today. Thank you.
Thank you. Good. I think we will got 5 more minutes. If there's no other comment, there's no question, guys, feel free to reach out to us if you have a question later on. Myself, we got Stephanie. Sorry, Stephanie, I see you raised your hand. Is there something you want to say?
Yes, I'm very happy with what or agree with what Petra and Mercy and Timonia said in regards that we really need to influence our companies. And it's something that I learned during one of the PMI events, and it really hit a message home for me. And that is, we do not need to do a 180-degree change in a company. All we need to do is achieve a 1% change. 1%, when it close by, it looks very small, but the further you go, the bigger that change will be. And with all the other things that are happening in our lives, in the company and so on at the moment, due to the pandemic, we probably can't handle more than that. And in regards to moving towards Agile, that means if you just change one aspect in your project and make that more Agile, then you show your bosses the benefits of it and the success that you had, and have a frank discussion about it, how they feel about it, how it went, what you think you can achieve. And then you start now building up on that, on your success. And then slowly, you can influence them and really make them embrace Agile over time. It takes time, but it's very, very possible. It doesn't matter which rank you are within the company.
True. And I think there's a lot of learning we can have from each other. There's absolutely so much knowledge, experience that we have. If we start talking about it and we start sharing it, it makes the journey a little bit easier, I think. Isn't it? So definitely. I think it's an opportunity for us.
About spreading the gospel in your LinkedIn and on your Twitter and such things.
Yes. Yeah. Good, guys. Thank you very much. I think we will bring this to a close. As I mentioned earlier, this is going to lead up to a month-long festival, which is going to be in February. But we are doing a number of events as we approach February. So be on the lookout for the next event. I I have a session next Tuesday, which I'm planning to do. I think the flyers are going to go out. Is where we are going to talk about how Agile influences digital transformation. And so I think you might as well join that one as well. I think the more we get together, the more we talk about stuff, I think the more we will spread the message. And please, I encourage everybody to speak up, I think, and then share your journeys with us as much as we're trying to do the same with you, I think. All right, guys, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening and take care. And all the best with your New Year festivities, wherever you are. And see you in the new year. Best wishes. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, and the same to you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.